I hope y'all can hear me. I'm doing some moving around. And guess what else I'm doing, child? Oh, and I apologize in advance. I apologize in advance. All right, now can be doing. I don't know which part gonna go down. Place it out. Oh, I am going to be eating. So, yeah, okay. Stuffing my damn mouth and eating. I wanted to do I wanted to do the live today, but I'm so sleepy, y'all. I am. It's like I woke up, I put, what is this? I didn't know going crazy. What was this? Yes. Let me get these groceries. Get these groceries at the microwave. Right, right. Listen here. I give it up. Hey, I'm gonna repeat this tomorrow. I'm gonna repeat it today while it's on my heart, right? While it's on my mind. No doubt you still hear me. Please, getting that? Yes, Lord. Okay. We'll be at. Okay. Listen. So tomorrow I'm going to read the latest from the R. Kelly docket, but I'm going to also go back a little bit, right? Because I haven't really done any R. Kelly paperwork in a minute, but I'm gonna have to go back a little bit to give you some context, right? So I'll be reading the government's document first, and then I'll read the latest with Kels. I also put on the back where they had originally scheduled a telephone conference. We all get to listen in, and then they strap that, and now it's in-person arguments on the 8th. So we're gonna have to wait to see what the judge said. One second. I never know if I'm doing it using these inhalers right. Okay. Let's set this table, honey. And get it cracking. So, listen, right? Listen. I need you to understand something. Again, I'm going to preach this tomorrow. But for the ones that may not want to click on it, give me a heads up. Okay. So, tomorrow, I'm going to be doing just what I said, right? So, let me talk to you guys a little bit about what has traditionally happened in this sector. I don't know if any other sector operate like this, but it has happened in this sector. Some reason you guys only want to accept what the whomever you support, you only want to accept that side of the story, right? That side of the case. I'm not sure how that works out for you, but what I get is what ultimately happens, right? What ultimately happens is that you be lost in the sauce. Okay, you don't have any clue or anything. You don't have any. You don't know what the hell is going on, right? Um, and I noticed that a long time ago. What can I do? I gonna say like you have nuts out here, and and when I was looking at some of going back to like the Michael Jackson stuff or whatever, it's like, yeah, don't read that stuff or whatever. And it's like, why not read it? Because in the court, it's also, I mean, that your side is going to be presented, their side is going to be presented, and then the judge is going to make a ruling on all of it. I never could understand why people would only be concerned with just one portion of it. Now, how does that help you? It doesn't help you. And we're in the 7th year. And I've heard some things and I'm not surprised, but I heard some things and it sounds like some people still don't get it, right? So this is what, and listen, I told y'all, okay, I just have to be me, okay? I can't be nobody else. I can't take it easy. I can't do none of that, right? I can be only me. So that being said, I can understand why some of you are a bit behind, right? Some of you don't understand, you don't get it. It's my fault. I have some type of bias against R. Kelly, which is absolutely stupid, right? Because I read both sides. Okay. Not only do I read both sides, I also tell you pretty much what's going to happen with that motion. Then the judge makes their ruling and is usually support what I said they were going to say. So I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have a bias. I could give less. I don't care. They're going to let them out right now. I don't give a fuck. I'm serious. I really don't give a fuck. I mean, like they letting out Ted Bundy or something. I mean, so, I'm sorry. That's not, I feel like I'm smacking. So, but now, I can understand if you don't like me, right? And for that, I don't give a fuck because I don't like you either. Okay? But there is a reason why certain um, certain degrees goes beyond the college. You know, you apply for college, right? They give you the assessment. Based on that, they'll tell you what classes you need to take, right? Okay. Usually, college of business, general ed, things of that nature, right? Psychology is one where it doesn't require another qualifier, right? It doesn't require another test to get in those programs. Law, medicine, does, right? MCAT and the LSAT, right? So not only do you have to take the test to get into the college, right? Let's see where what up, Shawty? No, I posted that on the wall. I'm going to read, well, I guess they'll be discussing what I'm going to go over tomorrow on the 8th. And I wish I could, oh, that's 6:47. Yeah, I don't know. I'll be having to go. But I just want to make sure that people understand. Now, this is what amazes me. Okay? This is what amazes me. His trial has already happened. Okay? His appeal have already happened. His reviews have already happened. Okay? Now, I need someone to tell me, where was I wrong? I don't care if it was defense motion. I don't care if it was the government's motion. I don't care if it was the judge's ruling, right? That's why you cannot believe everyone when they say that they are what, legally astute, legally inclined, legally like they know the law, or they know somebody that knows the law better than me, or whatever, right? You understand what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, being in a penitentiary, that doesn't count towards a law degree. Okay? What up, Purple? So, a lot of these matters that y'all are still talking about has already been tried, beat down, and the judge has made a ruling. I didn't make the ruling. I didn't write. I didn't write the motion. I didn't do any of that. So if you ask me why wasn't something allowed, right? And I tell you, it would seem as if that if something wasn't allowed, and I tell you why it wasn't allowed, and it's still not allowed, how does that make me biased? How does that make me I'm just trying to figure that out. Okay. Judge Andoni put it as simple as could be. She stated when she responded to the Rule 29 and the Rule 33, right? She said If evidence is admissible, she can't do anything but admit it in, right? Admit it in onto the record. If it's inadmissible, she can't do anything but what? Not admit it. Okay. What is she going by? Right? What is she using to make those determinations? Right? The same things that I tell you, right? When I holler out FRE, FRCP, or FRCRP, that is what is governing her decision. She doesn't have a bias in it either. Your hands are tied. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. I, I, I mean, some people just have a terrible understanding or comprehension, or I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm I don't know. You know, it's the reason why you didn't take trigonometry, geometry, hell, maybe even algebra. You have to go back in your history with your education and just pay attention. You know, look, right? Just look at your look at your paperwork, or you know what classes you did good and you did bad and whatever, and like how some of us got to take trigonometry and statistics and stuff like that, and then maybe you were in the 12th grade and still with regular math. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. If I say, if they tell you to write an APA style, MLA style, you understand what I'm saying? If you're not familiar with it, I get it. And that's fine, right? But don't cast no aspersions on me because I'm telling you, hey, Karen, no, it's the motion from, what's the motion from last week? But since I haven't done R. Kelly in a minute, I'm gonna also do the government motion as well for context, right? So we can see what the defense is responding to. They're going back and forth. There are rules, and tomorrow, I wish I could do it tonight. I don't think I can, honey. I don't think I can. I'm so sleepy. But there are rules. Okay. And the biggest items that I just don't understand, what you don't understand, is when it comes down to the STDs and the parents. And when I mean, and understand this, right? For some reason, y'all only center, pay attention to just one set of parents. Well, per whatever went on in the trial, there were other alleged children. Their parents, wasn't asked to take the stand either, if I'm not mistaken. Now, outside of Faith, but Faith was 19, I believe, her mother took the stand because her mother was what we call a fact witness. Okay? Now, again, tomorrow, I will not be breaking it down. I'm kind of sound like I do have a bar number, bar numbers, rather. Yeah, I'm not gonna break it down to A B C D E F G form. We on year 7, okay? We're on year 7. Okay, so yeah, very, yeah. So I heard on something I was listening to earlier where I think it was Jim Derogatis and some other people. And I don't know if this was said or not, but somebody said, one of those people said that R. Kelly admitted to having relations with Aaliyah in New York court. I don't know. Oh, I don't remember. And another thing, right? When we go to school, we may have an idea of what we want to do. If you want to go into private practice, you know, you're going to be a defense attorney of whatever specialization, right? It could be personal injury, from law, what have you, right? Constitutional, civil rights, stuff like that, right? You could do me, right? I'm transaction. I'm in the office. I'm not going into court. I'm trying to stop it before it goes to court. So I'm doing negotiations, right? I'm doing a lot of arbitration. We're going back and forth trying to get a deal. Okay. Now, if it has to go to court, that's usually when I have to pass it off to the attorneys. That does what? Fight it out in court. That wouldn't be me. Okay. So We don't have a particular mindset. That's ridiculous. We all sides, right? Even the judge. What the judge is just a high class lawyer, right? And you have the defense and you have the prosecutors, right? And they could literally switch sides. And based on what we see and discover, we're probably going to have some of the same arguments. Now, you have some lawyers that, go out there swinging a little bit harder, like um, J. Bo and definitely like Bo, which ain't a problem with that. But then you may have some that just, keep it strictly by the books, and maybe their strategy probably would be leaning more on, if you're a defense attorney, more on his constitutional rights, right? You understand what I'm saying? Now, Bo is leaning on his constitutional rights. Okay? All the time, they're not going to say that. But when I told you that they're not writing those motions for, for y'all. Just like when they put the rules in there and they don't break down the rules because they're not writing it for y'all. Okay, and we can look at the rule, right? Because remember now, you have FRE, you have FRCP, FRCRP, you have the state rules. Okay, we can look at the paper and know just by looking at the rule where to go to gather, understanding, making sure that there hasn't been any changes and and all of that, right? See, how can we defend it, or see how can we use it if it's prosecution, right? So that and I'm not being like calling calling anybody dumb and stuff like that, but we'll see tomorrow, right? Because I'm just gonna go through it. They have those rules there. When you look at it, you got to be able to tell, okay, well, they're going by this rule, they're going by that rule, they're going by, the state rule, they're going by, New York. Okay. You have never been to law school, then you're not going to really know where to go look, or, what it is. There are some rules that are just pretty much consistent. It's you just going to pop up pretty much during every trial, right? Then there's some that's not. And then in the indictment, right? Sometimes they will cite, if it's a federal, just if it's a federal case, sometimes they'll cite also the state rule. Because they can, you know, they have liberty to pick and choose. That has nothing to do with me. I didn't write not one. I didn't put, I ain't got not one I on any of that. And I understand it because I graduated to had to take 2 bar exams, right? That's it. You have prosecutors that go into private practice, which is defense work, and then you have very, very few times it's happened where a private practice attorney will, return back to the state or, go to the feds and be prosecutors, right? That doesn't happen a lot. But definitely, a bunch of prosecutors that will go um, into private practice. And most of them do that because they have proven now they got a buzz as a prosecutor. Now they got a buzz, their name is buzzing. Okay. They won a lot of cases or they did pretty good. So, and they are looked at as a person that knows the system. So they can easily get into private practice and garner a lot of attention, which is going to play well with their reputation and then most likely bring in a lot of clients, right? Especially, those celebrities, they be getting in trouble, honey, and they got the coin to pay for it, right? No, tomorrow I'm going to show you exactly why the parents weren't needed. Um, and so let's do this. Okay. Okay. Let's do Jane Doe number 5. That's we all love. Jane Doe number 5. Let's do it. Okay. Now, you remember the indictment, right? It doesn't start from when she was at the Dolphin Hotel or anything like that, right? Okay. So they have the Jane Doe, right? She's going to be considered direct evidence because she was the person that was involved. So she's going to be considered direct evidence. Most likely they've already submitted photographs or and her birth certificate and whatever. They've already entered that in on the record, right? So they have established that she was 17 or whatever, right? So this is the prosecutor's case now. And they're going to be very careful about opening the door that will allow the defense to talk about the parents. They're going to, what they did was avoided that whole thing by just starting, you know, charging him after the whole Dolphin Hotel thing, right? Now, you don't need her mother up there to tell how they met R. Kelly, right? Because they have her. She gets to tell. She's direct evidence. They're not charging the parents with any crimes or anything like that, right? She gets to tell what happened, how they met. She gets to tell that. Okay. The prosecutors also have the advantage because they get to pick out from whatever text messages what they need to use to back up what she's saying on that stand. Again, it's not going to open the door to the parents because, one, they're going to be real careful about that, right? They're going to be real careful about that. And you also got that rule, FRE 403, okay, which was what the lady judge in the YSF trial was beating down the prosecutors with. Remember, they was having as much as 10 photos to establish one point or to establish one element or a fact, right? And remember, she said you don't need all of that. Now, if they were talking coded language in there, right? But I'm breaking it down to you what she was saying. So this was when what the lady y'all don't like, the tall lady, right? She wanted, you know, 12 pieces of evidence just to establish one element or fact or whatever. And the judge say, it seems like you don't need all of this to establish, the element or the fact or whatever. So she had to, so the judge wouldn't allow a lot of what they had. Remember, I mean, they had But which was into the future. hmm So I'm sorry for smacking y'all there, but you're home. So when as take the stand, as is considered to be a fact witness. Normally, you're either going to be a fact witness, an expert witness, or a character. Okay? I'm so happy my little smart gang is in here because, baby, honey, y'all, baby, damn near paralegals, honey. Y'all, baby, listen, the court ain't going to get y'all confused or whatever. The court ain't going to get y'all messed up. And, uh, and you know, honey, Keller is a little paralegal too, baby. Keller puts it down. I was like, go ahead. He's like, I learned that from you. I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, honey. I mean, people. That's what I like to see. I'm like, okay, people writing their own shit. I'm not writing nothing. They'll send it to me to look at, but especially if I know it's some tension between, like, people are cool with whatever. I'm like, okay. But yes, y'all listen. They better not play with y'all. Because I know, look here, y'all get an indictment. I already know y'all gonna have your timeline together. Yes, Lord. You're gonna have your timeline together. And you're gonna work it backwards to forward and then forward to the end. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, honey. And then that's how I hate to pivot, but that's how both of lost his case, right? Yeah, both of them. You only knew, baby. And the thing is, there ain't nothing you can do about it. Listen now, when I tell you, Sylvia's attorney really didn't have to do much. Okay, read between the lines. Sylvia's attorney didn't really have to do much, honey. Trump, I mean, just lying. Oh, oh, I can't stand that thing. I can't stand it. Oh, yes, honey. That was funny. He kept running down there with all that stuff. Mm, 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 mm. And then he gets mad at Dennis, right? But baby, that cake was blown up before Dennis hadn't even, you know, did the move on you. Yeah, that shit was already out of order. Mhm. Bozo, and you know, good as well. I was not gonna let you do that to that damn lady. I mean, some people may like her or not. Um, her and I done had a few run-ins, but I understand her. You know what I'm saying? So I understand her. And she good people, you know what I'm saying? But people uh, may not understand how she move or why she move like that. But you know, if you want to call it clout chase or whatever, well, you know, there's a lot of on these YouTube streets that you can call a clout chaser, right? And you have those people on Instagram and other platforms doing the most. And you know, they do the most with their body and any type of, you know, in their mind, negative press is still good press. You know what I'm saying? Because it does what? It does what? Bring them the attention that they need, that they want. People start what? Subscribing, right? They start getting followers, a bunch of followers. And depending on what platform you're using, you're gonna get a little check, right? I'm gonna drop it just because y'all probably saying you would have been went over the paperwork. No, I wanna proposal thought that it was gonna be easy. Bozo, bozo. Why would you think that? And honey, that thing don't want people to talk to me and all. I'm like, what kind of shit is this? Oh, oh my God, boy, I can get on your case. Won't get off. But anyway, yeah, and then he gets mad because I blew up his spot. You know how he likes to when the paperwork come in and it's in capital letters, right? And it's pretty much the same format that both the prosecutors and defense use. He wants to use that silences straw man. I don't know what the hell it's called. Foolishness that has no place in the American judicial system. He wants to use, the the capital letters. That's not right. It's making R. Kelly a corporation and all this extra shit. And I said, okay, well, explain it to him now. This is the defense motion came out, and it's in what? The same format. Now explain that. So the defense, they don't know. They trying to say R. Kelly is a corporation too. Your argument doesn't make sense, and because he is you know, he's a psychopath or sociopath or something like that, right? I messed up his prepared, um, you know, speech, his bullshit. Like those type of people, they don't like when you throw a monkey wrench in their plans. That they don't, because they have a carefully crafted uh, spiel that they want to use. But if you get them, you get them off there because it's prepared, right? It's in their head. But if you rattle it, if you mess it up, you know, then they don't know how to handle that, right? They start making mistakes and just oh my gosh, I wish I could child, I wish I wish some of you was on my real social media account because how we be talking, you know. But yeah, you those people have a plan, a carefully crafted. I'm gonna do this, and all I said was, "Now, Bozo, explain why the defense is using capital letters too. Explain that to the people, because he likes to make up law and all that kind of crazy shit. That I mean, and he his percentage of being wrong. Well, he doesn't really break it down. He just lied all up. So, so it's gonna be wrong anyway. Like 9% of the time. That's crazy. And I guess I come from an area or era or come through however I traveled to get here where facts matter, the truth matters. perfection matters. You know, you really can't afford to get it wrong. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I could only wish that our wartime presidents and prime ministers would um, adopt that strategy, those rules, because they expect casualties, right? Innocent bystanders and stuff like that when it comes to wartime. And that's even children, right? They expect that. And I get it. I just don't like it, right? Because if you're if your target is off and you're hitting a school, a hospital where the innocent, where the innocent, more innocent people, like what's the, you understand what I'm saying? It's like, but they accept that all of them, even the presidents we like, like Obama, all of them accept that there is going to be casualties, innocent lost, because they're trying to kill one or two people, or maybe a group or whatever. And what happens is that they know that these, terrorists will hide amongst the innocent people. And the government will know that, and know how many innocent souls could be lost, but their main objective is to what? Kill, what is that, what the dude name is? Baghdaddy, Big Daddy, what? Baghdaddy, whatever his name is. He changed his name to Baghdaddy, Big Daddy. Yeah, as long as they get him, you know, uh, when they went after Bin Laden. Now, did they have to kill up everybody in the house? I mean, I, I mean, I just don't know with some of that, with some of those wartime decisions. I don't know. But, but you also have to look at it from the standpoint uh, that the presidents and the prime minister and the king, or however your country is ruled, they also know that these wackos will put a bomb on their child and send them towards you. And you know what I'm saying? And it's so crazy. I just don't understand. I just don't understand how in the hell do they get so many people to volunteer to kill themselves, the children. I'm going. I mean, what kind of brainwashing? Child, that's above my listen. I don't got a master's in psychology. That's for the other people who research that stuff. I mean, I understand the basics or whatever, but I just cannot fathom that if I have common sense or if I care about myself, my child, my husband, or what have you, I just don't see, me saying, okay, yeah, I'm gonna follow your crazy ass, and you want me to learn how to fly a plane and fly into the damn World Trade Center. Like what kind of conversation? Like what? You want me to do what? Well, listen, but that's kind of like the same when these women or these children will take the case, like if somebody get caught, you in a car, you get caught with some drugs. Yes, it says, you say it's yours or whatever, and I you to make sure you're straight. You will get your lawyer and all that type of stuff, whatever. Um, you know. Well, I kind of I understand that. I don't really agree with it, but I know sometimes they have to go down like that. But but that, that strapping a bomb in some kind of way, they tied into the Lord. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure, I don't think so. But I be thinking some of y'all are enjoying the cold. Y'all be going hard. It's just that a lot of us come from or, you know, pretty much work where quality control is a real thing, right? Oversight is a real thing. Getting it right is a real thing. Because you can easily, and depending on what it is, right? You can easily mess up. If you don't get it right, you can mess up the whole program or whatever, right? Um so I just don't understand, right? I'm trying to understand, but when you only read just and it's more public health people, so I'm gonna go there. You have a lot of health people just want to read what the attorneys for R. Kelly wrote, what motions they filed. Okay. Then when we get into why it did not succeed, they're looking lost and crazy and calling you bias and she's not for R. Kelly, but I'm not for none of them. And I don't have to be. Again, we are not even. We're not equal. We have different I mean, I don't have a mission or motive or support thing. I don't care about none of that. You may have that. You may be in an alliance, and that's fine. I don't knock people that's in an alliance. I understand that, you know, he should be supported. I understand that. I don't look at people crazy because of, they support. Now, I look at you crazy when you start changing different things and shit like that. You start monkeying around with the facts and all of that and making up shit and all that. So I looking at you crazy. Then if you try to justify some of the shit, I'm gonna be like, wait a minute. But yeah, because I liken that to, like, if it was your family member, do you just, you know, throw them away? No, no. Mm. But then there are some parents, some people that would, depending on what their child did, they will, throw them away. Go right there to the media and say, hey, yeah, I ain't fucking with my child. You know, he or she got what they deserve. And then there are some Karen parents that will allow their child to learn a lesson. I understand that as well. You got to, like I tell people, you're going to die with your decisions. These are your decisions, not mine, right? But I mean, it is so crazy. It's like they think that the whole entire story is going to be told in that courtroom, in a court case. It's like, are you crazy? Now check this out right here, right? O.J. Simpson trial lasted what, 6 to 8 months? Did we hear every detail about his life with Nicole and then Ron? No, because they're not indicting your entire life. They are indicting your criminality, right? That part. So they only need the evidence to support that and any facts that they may lay out in the case. I don't understand how that turns into just pro prosecutor. No, I'm not pro none of that. And if you think about it, when I wasn't working for the people, when I was working for companies, you could kind of consider me a defense attorney. Although I'm not going into court, but you can kind of, can consider me as a defense attorney. Because I'm representing the who? Corporation. Like, mm-mm. And as life will have it, I didn't know this until I, you know, figured out I made the right choice because I have a child that traveled everywhere, and I needed a job that allowed me to be off, allowed me to, work remotely from wherever or take unpaid vacation. Because sometimes, I mean, she would be gone, like in the summer, she'd be gone for 3 weeks. And I had to have taken unpaid vacation, child. So I'm paying out for her travels and everything associated with it and mine. You do the math on that. So, and oh my gosh, you have some children who play every sport. Oh no, ma'am. I'm gonna tell you, she wanted to do. I don't know if it was. It almost seemed like she was going to head into track and field because her physical ed teacher, and it's so crazy. Her physical ed teacher used to be my substitute teacher when I was in high school. So now that's crazy, right? That's just like the same woman, lady who pierced my ears, ended up piercing her ears. And we 21, almost 22 years apart, her and I. Ain't that crazy? I took her the same, and see, I didn't have my ears pierced as a baby. I got my ears pierced when I turned 16. And when I tell you, baby, I cried. So when I took my daughter there, same lady, she pierced my daughter, my, you know, she was like, when that first stick hit her, she's like, baby, that second ear, oh my gosh, honey, you can hear her all through the mall crying. Hear her all through the mall crying, honey. hmm But, you know, the thing I just don't understand is these motions and a lot of these arguments that are resurfacing, right, have already been addressed in court. I don't understand how that translates to me being biased or having a one track mind. And I definitely don't understand how you would understand what's going on better than I do. And this is no shade, because if you if you are a hospital administrator, right? I'm not gonna go and think I know more than go over to the hospital and think I know more than the hospital administrator. That's stupid. I'm not saying things that can't be challenged, but here's the beauty. Here's the beauty. When we get this paperwork, right? That's exactly what they're doing. They are challenging certain items, certain objections, right? And the judge makes a ruling, makes another ruling. It has already played out. So I'm trying to figure out, how does that translate to me being one-sided bias pro prosecutor? No, because if you look, I also do the defense part as well. And we have set up here and have come up with more defense strategies which are legal. Okay, I'm not talking about the people that's just saying, use this evidence, use that evidence, whatever. That's not legal, because that evidence has already been ruled it was inadmissible. So what we doing? But it has already played out. A lot of what we are going through per post conviction has already been played out. We just either trying to, appeal it, review it, ask for, a higher court to make a decision. And guess what? In R. Kelly's case, they pretty much already made decisions. Okay? Now, they made decisions on certain pieces of evidence and all that, right? Now, you see, well, I see, and I tell you, but I know my people over here see it too, where they are trying to come up with what violations due to, based on the Constitution, right? Which is very smart, right? As a matter of fact, I told you guys a long time ago, once you get that indictment comes into the attorney's office. They are looking up and down to see if there is anything that sticks out that would cause this indictment to be dismissed, right? So at first glance, they're looking for any type of constitutional violations, right? Okay. Remember, they're starting the discovery phase as well, right? But the indictment is usually there um, at the beginning of the discovery phase, or so when you get that indictment, you look at it, talk to your client. Is early on, right? With these sexual abuse cases, that we've seen where the names have been withheld and all of that. So you have to infer with your client, say, you know who you think this is, you know who you think this is, whatever. They'll say yes, no, whatever, and give you the story. So you have that, but you really looking for, at first glance, you're looking for anything that's going to make it a constitutional violation, right? You don't, I mean, like, we're looking for double jeopardy, okay? Statute of limitations, um, anything like that. Any type of misconduct on the prosecutors and anything. You understand what I'm saying? Now you start seeing that, you pretty much in the throes of the discovery phase, because the prosecutor got to make sure you have Brady, Giglio, and Jinx material in that discovery, right? Because that is exculpatory evidence, right? And we know that exculpatory evidence means that that's potentially something that can prove that our client is not guilty. Okay, but generally, when you get the indictment, you usually get a motion from the defense asking to dismiss based on, whatever they can come up with. That gets shot down. Now, you're doing your investigations to verify this, whatever, to see it. You come up with a defense against whatever the prosecutors are saying. Okay. Then you have your motion in limine. As with any other legal document in the court, you're not going to put it in a term where, in terms of what a baby could understand, right? They're not going to write. They don't have time for that. They're writing it because they don't know that you have people out here that's interested or whatever. They're writing it to each other. So they're not going to put, okay, this piece of evidence is inadmissible because of it's irrelevant. this piece of, no, they don't do that. That would take all day. That, I mean, you know, huh? Sometimes they may speak to a particular piece of evidence because maybe it came in at a certain time or whatever, uh, and it was new or something like that, right? Yeah. But when they have the discovery, the judge and the prosecutors pretty much can tell what the defense is going to be, and the defense pretty much knows what the prosecutor's case will be based on. So they know how they're going to pretty much come. That's why you see in the beginning for the jury, for the trial starts, you see the judge, both sides going through the motion of limine, going through, the admission of evidence, things of that nature, right? The reason being, I mean, when I say that each side pretty much know what the defense is going to be, and it's because of the rules. The rules are all we keep telling y'all about. You know, I tell you about so they, and when you see when you get a case that's where consent is in question, then even if it's an adult, right? You saw how pretty much what Diddy was charged with was pretty similar to what R. Kelly was charged with, and others, right? The only difference is Diddy didn't have any minors, right? So his defense, the judge, could allow, uh, could allow those texts. You said they had text messages, whatever, and they did allow a lot of messages in there, right? Because we saw, right? So when you're talking about an adult, there can still be a consent issue, of course, because if you and a guy, y'all getting, getting down, whatever, and you tell him stop, and he don't stop, you know what I'm saying? That, now consent is an issue. You see that in a lot of, rape cases, right? They'll say that you have a defendant that will say that, yeah, her and I used to be in a relationship and all that. So then you'll see the defense crafting their story as if it was like a regular relationship, whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, Then they tried to do that in Illinois for some of the young girls there. Like, I think was it Greenberg at some point was like, was describing a lot of these relationships as loving and all of that. Yeah, it can still be, it can be loving and all that big old, but here's the problem. She's on 18. And now she's an adult, right? She can be a fact witness, means direct, so that's direct evidence. You don't need a parent co-sign, right? You know, what your what your parents was doing when you was out and about, and you showing negligence when it comes to the parents and things of that nature. That's neither here or there. So you don't need a parent because you got your fact witness on the stand. And what evidence they turn over to support that, that the time that they say, the time frame and what happened, but they say happened is supported by whatever, like what Geronda had photos of her in the bed and all that, right? So, I mean, unfortunately, when it's minors involved, then the case, the defense, I mean, they only have, like, their strategy is pretty much like, shit. If you remember Daryl Brooks, remember? With his baby mama, he got in trouble in Las Vegas and had to roll as a sex offender and all that. And what did he say? He said this before he was doing that they showed him participating in a interview about meth, crystal meth, or whatever. And he said that she told him that she was 18. As you see, that defense didn't matter. Okay. And or it wasn't proven, but it didn't matter anyway, because she wasn't 18. And they expect some kind of way for people to know when they are dealing with minors. They say that as adults, we're supposed to make sure that we're not dealing with minors. In some cases, just say a store has a no refund policy, but you sold a bike to a kid. Legally, if that kid wants a refund, their parents come up, then their kids want a refund, you're going to have to refund them the money and take your bike back. In most of the situation. Mm-hmm. I tore it up. I tore this fruit all the way up. So that's what it is. And just know this. If the rules doesn't allow the evidence to be admissible, then the evidence won't be admissible. It's not because the judge is biased and all this extra stuff and I'm biased and all, and I have nothing to do with that. Because here's the thing, right? And I don't understand this. Here's the beauty of this case. The case has already been decided on, appeal, hit the Supreme Court, all of that, right? It's been tried, tested, and reviewed, right? And it supported what I told you when I read it to you and broke it down the first place. So it backed up what I said, not what you think. Is the text messages an item? All the text messages an item that has been discussed? You know, as far as well, I shouldn't say discussed because I'm pretty sure they were discussed, but just because you see the defense attorney didn't use any of it, right? It doesn't mean that he didn't know what he was doing. That means because there were certain things that came out in that motion in limine. It came out in something else that they were going back and forth, where they mentioned the parents, right? They mentioned the parents, and that got knocked out early on because and Dawn said she would only entertain evidence and she wants direct evidence, not circumstantial. And see, she must be new that we had some people out here that want to make that part, those text messages, circumstantial, right? That's crazy how, that's so crazy how I can stop it, how she jumped in front of that. Probably not even, well, no, probably because of her experience, right? And what I mean by that, like those text messages have been interpreted in so many different ways, right? So check this out. If those text messages were admissible and the attorney fills in the gaps, says that it meant something else and it didn't, and all this whatever. That would be circumstantial. That wouldn't be direct. That would be that attorney telling the story from his client's point of view, of course, but in a legal way that pleases the court, right? They raise those objections in a legal way that pleases the court. So, and when so we never did see anything about the extortion come into play, right? There was nothing in the transcript that said anything about extortion went down in that courtroom. No evidence, no direct evidence was presented with regards to extortion. Then they tried to bring something up about the parents, whatever. And the judge says he said, are you about to go without where I've already ruled on? Because they're still trying to get something. They're still trying to link their defense to the parents. Okay. And Donnelly took care of that first time when she said she would entertain extortion with direct evidence. And then she entertained it on that motion in limine where she said that, pretty much if they try to indicate that the parents consented to the relationship, that would be that won't be allowed because a parent cannot consent to you having a relationship with the older person. I'm talking about legally. I'm not talking about if you ask your mama at 16, can you date somebody that's 24? And she says, okay. That doesn't mean that it's legal. And again, it goes back to what the parents can and cannot do with regards to the law. If they say, yeah, you can date the person, but then they get charged with dating an underage, the person that's underage, the fact that the parent gave permission or consent, and I'm using air quote, doesn't mean that it is it's legal. Actually, it's not legal. I mean, your parent can get in trouble for that. And so I just don't know why we just have such a problem with that. Now, what Bo is doing, and again, now check this out right here. I haven't read the uh the last paperwork drop, right? But Bo, you see he'll swing for the fence, honey, right? He ain't even saying nothing about the damn text message. If I'm not mistaken. Because he already knew. That's why they are trial attorneys. They know, they know the law with regard to that, especially an active trial attorney that has cases all the time. I don't think Bo is mentioning anything about the parents giving consent and stuff like that because he'll sound crazy. So no, your parent cannot consent to you having sex. Let me change that. Your parent cannot legally consent to you having sex with a grown up. However, which is so crazy to me, your parents can consent and sign, put their John Hancock on you getting married to an adult. In certain states, and I know in Florida, it we got like that Romeo and Juliet law. Like if you're 17 and the guy's like 21, then you're okay. It's like in a 4-year, like it's like they don't allow more like 4 years or something like that. I think it's like that in Illinois. But yeah, you're so again, right? That also that really tells you why the parents wasn't even needed. Okay, they wasn't needed, and the prosecutors are not going to mess up their case by bringing the parents on and starting from what they know and all this and whatever, even if it gets even if they can contribute to the case, to the prosecution case, because that allows the defense to come up there and have a shot at just destroying the parents and making them, I mean, they can make the parents look like neglect they neglected their child. They um it can support when R. Kelly said the parents sold the children to him. It's a lot can go on if that parent hit that stand. So I think the prosecutors knew in this case, that yeah, we're gonna steer clear of, you know, putting the parents on, because it could definitely make the jury think twice, you know, because the jury is going to get the jury charge, and that jury charge, the judge is going to say, you are to consider the evidence that was put before you. Well, hell, testimony is evidence. That's what the judge is going to say. So they will be able to consider, you know, the parents. So how about avoid all of that, right? Because trust and believe, I'm pretty sure they know the real truth and what happened and whatever. Now, if we had the 3,500 material, we'll be able to see what whoever talked to whoever talked to them, we could see what they said. But we generally can't pour you 3,500 material. And what matters is what they say on the stand and what evidence they use to contradict what they say. So unfortunately, if the kid or if the girl gave a woman or gave 5 different interviews and 5 different versions of the story, I can understand you beating the glass down in rage because she getting on the stand and tell another story, and you don't heard her tell 5 different stories. Well, here's the thing, right? If they don't have nothing to show or to show that she is not telling the truth, you know, they can try their best, but and like I tried to explain early on, right? This case was, I mean, even though we did the exercise and we did come up with, strategies, and they did use an affirmative defense or a exculpatory defense, as I thought, right? They did do that because that's the only one really way they could go, right? Because here's the thing, right? You got to also explain that evidence that prosecutor has. You got to either refute it or explain it or something, right? What I've been telling y'all, right? If you say something, you said it first, you're going to have to explain your evidence and mine. So it was pretty much doomed from the beginning. From the beginning. And I know that R. Kelly was a desperate man, and he was looking for everybody to get on social media and do his bidding and stuff like that. But listen, he was pretty much done. But even without Jada, but um, Geronda could have still testified that the letter she wrote. Remember they saying he had them write letters and stuff like that. He said they didn't even have the letter. She could still testify and say, he made me write these letters, and they could, even if they didn't have the letters, the women can testify that they wrote letters and what it was containing, and that it was pretty much, fraudulent, right? But in his case, I guess thanks to Jane Doe number 5, they had the letter. You know, they had the letters. So then now they have the evidence. And when they said it's inextricably intertwined, that means, they have evidence to support evidence, and it cross reference, and it can support another person's account. It was just too much. It was too much. It was too much. And to be honest, I hadn't already calculated in my head that he'll probably get 30 years. When I started looking at the discovery list, God damn. And you have your employees, they taking a stand. They got text messages talking about the goings on in the in the in the in the enterprise, as they call it. Okay, you got that. Then you have the testimony from the women themselves, but they testified to what happened to them when they were youngsters, right? And yeah, they went over there, they volunteered or whatever you want to call it. But the law does not call it a volunteer when she's under 18. I mean, they had everything to support everything they indicted him on, like going across state lines, right? Well, we know that they traveled with him. Remember the part about going across state line having sex, I guess fell under the Mann Act, and then being exposed to STD. They had every piece of evidence to support the whole thing, the whole transaction. I know when you look at the defense and say, well, damn, they didn't do nothing. Wasn't nothing they could do. Now check this out right here, right? the defense in New York pretty much mirrored the defense in Illinois, right? They didn't have, really nobody to call to contest or refute anything that was said. They have pretty much no evidence that suggests that whatever didn't happen. Um, their defense case in chief took about the same amount of time in Illinois that it did in New York. Why is that? You know why? Do you know why? Because we all went to law school. We already know. We know the rules. So, I mean, then you got the video. And when you have this, let me tell you, when investigators, the cops, can recover video, oh baby, they're in the office doing a Tootsie Roll. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you just say you have video, but you might not have the gun, you got the video of somebody that fit the description of the defendant shooting somebody in the middle of the street. That's what you got. You got video. Then why you think like and I'm not gonna say every state functions like this, but the states that I've worked in, pretty much function like this. Like, as a prosecutor, they'll call you to the site, of crime, right? It's like, don't think that it's because you are a prosecutor or a lawyer or whatever that you don't do police work. You can't arrest them. Right? You're not given those powers, but you definitely can come and look at the scene and whatever. They have a prosecutor that's on duty, right? Just say if it happened after hours, whatever, prosecutor on duty that's gonna show up. If the cops think that they, you know, if they think that's needed. But yeah, so, mean, there's this, what I think maybe later on, maybe like I said, maybe after he does like 15 years, maybe they'll amend his sentence. But like did what did it got inside 5 years. He had and the difference he had all the And that allowed the defense team to play down to every card in the deck. They had a lot of circumstantial evidence, right? And then they're gonna psych us out, try to make you think it was gonna be like a long trial and all this, whatever. They had all this evidence on there, kept really playing. Is that video? Remember, I said, this all they're gonna do is play this video to death so it can beat it in the heads of the jurors. That lets me know right there, you really don't have nothing but that video. So what his defense team did, they went to work on those witnesses. Now, based on the sex act, right? If they're minor, they were minors at the time, or adults, you can't ask, certain questions, right? Like, like if you are a stripper or your mental health or something like that. I don't want to guess at it, but okay. But you can definitely make them seem, incredible, right? Meaning lacking credibility. And that's what they did. They mounted a rigorous defense because they could, right? They were able to make the RICO in that case seem ridiculous that it would apply to a single. Ain't that crazy? But we have the same situation and with regards to R. Kelly. Well, like I said, it's different. And um, Diddy was charged with the conspiratorial RICO, while R. Kelly was charged with the substantive RICO, right? And the difference is that all they need to do is prove that Diddy knew, some stuff, what was going on in the organization or what was going on, whatever. But in R. Kelly's case, they had to prove that he actively participated. Right? So remember when I told you, I tried to put it in simplified terms. I said, when I'm talking about, I said, this is a case where physical activity, went on, and then at every element he's been charged with. It's hard to get around it. You're talking about sex, mainly, right? Well, he's charged with exposing the woman to the incurable STD, right? Not passing it off, not, and it's not a opportunity for you to say, well, did you have it before that or whatever? Because that they probably gonna object to that. That's outside the scope because that's not what they're talking about. They're talking, no, it's not. And also, I don't know if under that sex act, if they are even allowed to ask them if they already had the STD. Like I said, it's a lot of questions, lot of questions that the defense can't answer, can't ask them. So I'm still, I'm still shocked when people are still worried about talking about who gave it to who and whatever. When who gave it to who, it wasn't even a question. You're not charged with who gave it to who. Charged with exposing and proving that the girl had it before that. That does nothing because he is the one with the indictment. They say that he exposed them to the right, and the only thing they had to do is get him tested for herpes. Now, why do you think they didn't do that? Because the defense had already conceded to that. Not that. Now, I'm not saying they stood up and said, "Yes, Your Honor, we know he got herpes." They had already conceded to that based on their defense. Based on their defense, what they said, what they didn't say, based on their defense. I would, well, I mean, you could too. I don't know. I know from what I read, I saw they had, conceded to that. So that's why let's put another example. Okay, so you remember Young Bonji, right? She got either those text messages. Okay. Now, check this out right here. Now, check this out right here. This is how I know this was a lie. Jeff Bonji used Government Exhibit 233. Okay, the most famous text messages in this world. If those text messages could have been used, how certain people said that she was going to use them at any time. Now, I knew that was goddamn lie because first of all, I don't turn talk like that. But if she was going to use it for the purpose that they were saying that they were going to be used, it should be used, why she didn't use it on the post-conviction motion? Please tell me why she didn't use it. No, what she used? She used a piece of it, which was the conversation between Az and her mother, to attack one of the elements, right? Which is the coercion, that line, right? she didn't use GX233, the whole thing, then to put say it was the parents that did this, parents that did whatever. And she did bring up a parent. She brought up the mom. The conversation, and she said that, and it wasn't her client that was inducing and enticing and stuff like that, coercion. It was the mom, and what happened to that? What happened to that emotion? Like, please stop playing with me. And nobody got to wait. Wait for what? Now, when it comes to behaviors, right, which I would imagine that should be coming up because when when um when you put in appeals and all of that, that stops thought, right? Because you have got a certain amount of time. You got to make sure everything is a timely file. So, and like the dates and stuff like that, they file. But pretty sure they're gonna do a habeas, right? Now, with the habeas, they may be able to talk a little bit about the parents, right? But 9 out of 10 times, that 2055 is going right back in front of the judge that sentence. I think you have to give special permission to a board that's in file a habeas with the the Supreme Court, but you know, it's not much you can do. Your hands are tied. We're talking about defending a case with physical activity, has taken place, and then who it was minor, and they got paid, and all of that. It's like shit. And I don't like the idea of being tricked into like that. Um, but they know I'm not responsible for writing these laws. So, um, I mean, I just think that's the craziest thing. And then you want to then lean on being on intent. Like, that's crazy. Like I said, maybe if I knew, like if I know what I was getting into, maybe I would say, I don't do it. I don't know, but I'm just trying to tell you. If the judge has given the same answer that I, or have validated what I said by doing what? Offering her opinion, as long as her rule or her rule. Then you tell me how am I wrong? How am I right? Please let me know. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is why in school you could have had a ninth grade homework, but you could have had like seventh grade math. This is not, this is not for everybody. Everybody don't understand at the same level. Some people need extreme focus and all that extra shit or whatever. And then they just not gonna never get it. Well, I'll go through the thing tomorrow. Break it down like no baby no more. We're in the seventh year. Shit. I'm not making nothing up. Now, you do have defense attorneys. They will use different strategies. Bo is trying to, if I'm not mistaken, maybe wrong. I did Tasha K. In either one of these cases or another case, where they tried to make Tasha K a like that, that she could be considered an employee of whatever company or whatever person that was on top and being sued or whatever because of her duties, right? Um, and she was able to get out of that. I don't know if it was something dealing with R. Kelly or something dealing with Kevin Hart. I think I heard somebody read this last motion about a motion forward there. And I don't know, they was trying to make Larry or somebody a part of the prosecution team, right? In order to say that it was some prosecutorial misconduct. That's a stretch. So now you got to prove that that theory, that, whoever had the email did this, that, and the third with gender number 5. And, and a lot of people don't understand witness tampering or obstruction of justice, right? Witness tampering is more than someone talking you into changing your testimony. But you can change your testimony. This is only telling the truth. Somebody can talk to you and say, hey, you better, somebody, you better go tell the truth and whatever, Now, if somebody pressures you or it's done under duress or they threaten you or something like that, then and now if you are accusing the prosecutor, then you working your way up to prosecutorial misconduct. But if you are accusing like Larry of doing that, you're some kind of way gonna have to try to make Larry an extension of the prosecutor to have some kind of misconduct. There's no bribe. Talk of a bribe. And did we find out whether or not they made application for a pardon through Trump? But I posted something on there with Nikki Child. They kissing. What is going on? But what I was looking at, I was like, darn, he gave Kodak Black, Lil Wayne a break, right? Did they do an application for R. Kelly? I don't know. Maybe somebody can give us that information. I don't know. Yeah. Just set it up for tomorrow now. Hold my hand. We're 7 years in. You don't understand? You don't get it? I don't know what to tell you. Because, I got a cat in here that does tricks. Pretty Tony got a dog. I ain't got a dog that I'm not scared of. Pretty Tony got a dog that I swear he must be single parents or somewhere because the little dog do tricks. The little dog does, and when I tell you I'm not scared of dog, she'll bark. If she won't bite, she'll come and let you know when she leave the restroom. She'll, yeah, I'm like, what in the world? I'll have to. I have to put a picture up. A man, John. She does. She she'll get on her on her front paws and drag her butt. It's crazy. It was. I was like, what the hell? And I really thought she was gonna bite the. I mean, bite the hell out of me. She would come to you, come to the come to wherever you are, and you know that tells you that she wants to use the restroom, and honey, you open the door, and get your the scoop thing, and child, I said, no, I'm scared. I'm scared. Taco Bell dog. Taco Bell when we lived in an apartment a long time ago, and the Taco Bell dog jumped out at us, child. Me and my baby was going upstairs, and I took off my shoe and threw my body in between that Taco Bell dog and my child. And I was trying to tell my child, come on, go upstairs. I kept calling her name. Shit, my baby was up the street the other way. She had to took off. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Anyway, I can hear this big blast because that means I'm having a hot flash. Mm, mm. It's already cold. I swear. Oh Lord, how long these things last, Lord? Well, hey, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get it back. Yeah, we'll try to do it tomorrow. Okay, so make sure we get some work and some else. Next day, good day, and tomorrow is better day. And deuces. I'm not